Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and Smallville Rewind. This is probably gonna be one of those rare episodes, rare cases of a Smallville episode where I don't remember anything about this episode at all. Because, like, usually maybe I'll forget the Meteor Freak of the Week. Maybe I'll forget one of the side plots, but there'll be other things that I remember, other story beats that I remember. Oh, this is the one where this one thing happens, but I'll forget everything else around it. No, this episode, I was like, where did this come from? Like, a lot of shit going on that man. Okay, let's get into it. At the beginning, we see a bunch of the high school kids in swimming class, which I did not like swimming class in high school, mostly because I didn't learn how to swim until high school. But luckily, I learned, and I now know how to swim. But it was annoying, right? It's always one of those things where you get anxiety because you're like, okay, this is the type of day I'm going to have, swim class. And you see Lana, who is preparing for like Spirit Day or some shit. And she's with this girl, Chrissy, this new girl that we've never seen before. A minor nitpick of like, I wish, and I know schedule wise they couldn't do this, but I wish they would establish these side characters, these other classmates in other episodes in small parts, so that when they show up here, you're not immediately like, who the fuck are you? You're probably going to end up being the villain, aren't you? So Chrissy even makes a remark about Lana checking Clark out because Clark is just in his swim trunks. And yes, Tom Welling was in good shape. Fuck him. I've never been in good shape like that, especially in high school. In fact, I think in high school I was a lot fatter than I am now. So Lana is like, oh no, we're just friends. La la. Like, she's not admitting her feelings. And I'm not expecting her to admit her feelings to this random girl. I don't even know how close Lana is with this random girl, but I was more so just curious on, in general, where does Lana stand with Clark? Like, does she still have feelings? Or is she still so angry about the Red K episode that she's still kind of like, fuck that dude? Like, they're friends-ish, but you know what I mean? How much is really going on there? And then you see Chrissy go up to this kid, Troy. I guess it's her boyfriend. I don't know, maybe. And she kisses him. Now, Troy, this actor, looked very familiar. I remember seeing him in a previous episode of Smallville, maybe two. Definitely one where he was in the lockers, and I think he got attacked by a mystery invisible person. I don't remember if the episode was supposed to be like a ghost or if it was just somebody that could go invisible, because there's been a whole lot of these type of episodes. But this actor has definitely been used on Smallville before. I don't even know if his character before was Troy. Is he playing a different character? So either way, they're swimming, and Troy almost seems to be drowning, or at least like he's not swimming as well. And Clark notices this. I love the effect of Clark underwater speeding to him as he's on the like below the water on the ground. He pulls him out, and Troy turned into this old guy. It's just like, what the fuck? Who is this old guy? So, and it's such a weird thing. I mean, the school just goes on. That's pretty fucking weird. I know it's Smallville. I know a bunch of weird shit has happened in Smallville by this point. But having one of your classmates turn into a 70, 80-year-old man right in front of you and dying, because you find out in the next scene that he died, that's wild as fuck. Like, the school should be shut down, to figure out, like, is the water infected? Like, what is going on? But no, we just carry on. Just another day in the neighborhood. And we cut to a scene of Martha baking these like muffins, which looked very tasty. I got a little hungry while watching this, especially when Clark tasted one of them. Tasted good, he said. And then you find out that Jonathan is having financial problems with the farm, right? They might end up losing it. I feel like this has happened 3 or 4 times by now, and that's not a complaint. I actually like the fact that the Kents are struggling. Like, this isn't something where, because maybe they solved their money problems uh, last season, like, money problems are still going to keep coming up, or maybe they're going to have droughts in the farming, like whatever the economy for them is going through. Like, I like that this is a constant issue. It makes sense. I find it curious when Martha brings up, well, should I make that phone call? And I'm sitting here like, are they going to call Lex? Like, who are they talking about? They even mentioned that, like, the extra money Martha is bringing in from the job with Lionel isn't enough. Like, why not ask Lionel for, a loan? I'm sure he's good for it. But no, she says, should I call my father? And Jonathan is very upset about this. He's like, no, we're not going to talk to that asshole. He didn't say those words, but that's the tone Jonathan had. Jonathan's definitely a little pig-headed, might be too strong of a word, but he gets defensive. He gets closed off a lot. If he doesn't want to do something, he immediately shuts it down. He's not here for it. And it becomes a through line, like the side plot. Probably the most interesting part of this episode was the side plot of Martha's father and what's this issue? Clark tries to find out, like, what's the issue? I've never met my grandfather, Clark says. And in fact, I've never met my grandfather. Either of my grandfathers. But yeah, Clark hasn't met his grandfather, and so he's asking about it. And Martha ends up calling her father behind Jonathan's back. So the grandfather shows up to the farm. They're talking. The grandfather says, this isn't the life I wanted for you, farm life. You got good grades in school. You could have had this life, this city life and whatnot, which this is something that has come up before. Martha giving up her city life to be with Jonathan, and you're wondering, does she feel resentful for that, or does she feel like she could have done more with her life? And to have her father be so heavy on that was interesting. Clark arrives home early, and he's like, oh, this is my grandfather. Nice to meet you. And it's very awkward. Like, the grandfather doesn't really seem like he knows how to talk to him or what to say. In fact, he's even like, well, I'm going to go back to the hotel, so just call me if you still want that money. And Clark's like, well, why don't you stay here? Which is odd because he knows his father doesn't like this guy, so for Clark to offer that without Jonathan knowing, that would have been wild. But the grandfather's like, no, not a good idea. I do like when Clark says, well, at least stay for dinner. Let us, have a family time. And the grandfather's like, sorry, gotta go, gotta fly. And that's it. Yeah, that's very awkward. Later on in the episode, Lex notices that Clark is sort of, dealing with stuff. Clark is always dealing with stuff. And it's funny how much more often Lex is asking Clark, is everything okay? Versus you would think Lex is the one, or would be the one to have more issues and needing advice or help from Clark. But no, it's mostly Clark who tells Lex, fills Lex in, not on the money part, because I was wondering, hey, here's your chance to just ask Lex for the money. He's always offered to give money. I'm not saying take advantage of the guy, but if he's willing, it solves your issues. But no, he just talks about how they don't get along. He feels in the middle of it. And Lex gives him, honestly, bad advice. And Lex is probably not the best person to get family advice from Clark. Look at his relationship with his father, and we don't even know what else is going on with the other members of the family. Can you imagine Lex's grandfather? It's no. But he says that, it sounds like you should just have them, put them in the room together and let them fight it out, get it out of their system, and they'll be just fine. And Clark's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Cut to Clark invites the grandfather back to the farm to talk to Jonathan. I'm shocked the grandfather even showed up, because how did he expect this to go? Maybe he thought Jonathan was going to be nicer or going to grovel at his feet, and he wanted that. But I don't know, because Jonathan, just the sight of Martha's father is like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Again, he doesn't say fuck, but he might as well have, given his tone. And so they immediately argue. Like, it's not even a pretend cordial thing. Jonathan is just like, "Get out of here. I'm not interested." It might have been earlier where Jonathan tells Clark the whole issue stemming from the friction is that when Jonathan went to Martha's father and asked for his hand in his daughter's marriage, however that goes, and the father said, "No, I'm not going to let my daughter throw her life away to be with some hick from Smallville." And so Jonathan got upset and punched him in the face. When Jonathan said that, I was like, holy fuck, because again, I didn't remember any of this. And Jonathan was like, "Fuck you," and punched him in the face. I don't know if he said that, but that's how I picture it. And that was the riff. Martha chose Jonathan's side, which is very endearing, very sweet. And they haven't talked to him ever since. And so that's pretty wild. The father leaves the farm once again. Later on, Clark goes to the hotel where the father is at, the grandfather is at, and he says, like, "Why can't we make this work? Like, what, we need to be more mature about this." And I also, nobody said this, but when you see the Martha's father, he's at the age where I don't know how much time we have left together, and I'm surprised nobody said that, of like, there's only so much time we have before, who knows? But no, that's not said. And Martha's father basically just says to Clark, here's this check. It's a cashier's check, meaning it's never going to expire. Martha can cash it whenever she wants. I'm done. I'm good. I'm gone. Goodbye. And towards the end, I'm only talking about this part of the side plot because, once again, it's the most interesting part. Near the end of the episode, when Clark gives them the check, Jonathan finally admits that, look, yes, him and I have our issues, but another big reason why we didn't stay in contact with him, because he wanted to be in your life, but we didn't trust him, right? Because of our history, we didn't trust how he would react if he found out that you were an alien. Maybe he would fuck us over. So we had to keep our distance. Even Martha says, yeah, we can't trust him. And Clark is like, fuck, is it my fault that we're not close to the grandfather? And like, I don't know, man, because the parents, Jonathan and Martha, didn't really talk Clark down and say, no, of course it's not your fault. They just kind of said, well, and indirectly. So, yeah, that's pretty wild, because obviously it's not Clark's fault, but at the same time, it's a sticky situation. So, again, that was the most interesting part of the episode. We see the Chrissy girl. So because she kissed Troy, the kid who turned into an old man, it's pretty easy to tell that her kissing people, she is able to like suck the youth out of them, because she does this to Troy's friend later on in the auditorium. And we see in real time when she kisses him, that kid turns into this like old, shriveled up, like dead body. It was a creepy effect. And there's also other moments throughout the episode. It's wild because when you find out what Chrissy's deal is, it's actually not created or comes from Meteor Rocks. It's something on her own that she just got the ability of, or the curse of. However, we never find out. But when you see how fast her hand goes back to being old, and she even at one point sees her eyes getting a little wrinkly in the mirror, like the youthfulness that she sucks out of them, it doesn't last that long. It's like the next day she starts to go old again. So how many people has she been killing over the years in order to try to sustain herself? When Chloe does her insane investigative journalism, she looks up this girl and she finds out that Chrissy has been in so many different schools under so many different names, so many different decades. I think she said dating back to the 1920s. What the fuck? First of all, nobody else has figured this out. Only Chloe has figured it out. And that's insane. Once again, in hindsight, thinking of how many people must she have killed. If she has to kill one person per day, seemingly, or, and we never heard this, maybe the older she's getting, the harder it is for her to maintain. I don't know. I'm projecting. I'm trying to put my own sort of logic into this. And as that's going on, Clark gets a ride from Lex because he's late to school. And as they get there, the new principal, we actually have a new principal. The other principal, I guess, was like the acting principal. This is the real new principal. It's an actor that I have seen in so many other things. I forget his name, but it's funny. I just recorded a live watch for Friday the 13th, Part 9, and he's in that movie, so I just recently saw him in something. And he's the new principal, and you see that he's giving Clark shit for being late. So you're like, okay, this guy's a hard ass. I'm not going to like him. You definitely have dealt with teachers or principals like this dude. It's annoying. And this is even before he sees that Clark is friends with Lex, because he's being a dick to Clark already for being late. And then when he sees Lex, he goes, oh, so you're friends with Lex. And basically says, Lex is a piece of shit, so you must be like him. And throughout the episode, this principal is giving Clark shit about, like, I'm on to you, Clark. I'm watching you. In fact, I'm going to force you to write this 5-page essay on, hey, what do you think your future is going to be? And it's like, does the principal give writing assignments, writing essays to students? Like, is that, I mean, I don't want to say it's not something he has the authority to do, but I've just never heard of a principal giving an assignment like that. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, you know, it's like, I guess that's a normal thing. He's clearly not showing favoritism. He's selectively picking on a student. Let's be real here. He has no reason other than the Lex connection. In fact, there's a scene where Lex goes to the principal and says, hey, stop taking out whatever you have against me on Clark. And that's where you get some backstory of the principal apparently used to be at the school that Lex was at. And when Lex did something and this principal tried to get Lex in trouble, Lionel made one phone call to the school, got this principal kicked out of the school in favor for Lex. So that's why this guy doesn't like Lex. That makes sense, I guess, why he doesn't like Lex. But seeing him be a dick to Clark, I hope this doesn't go on for too much longer. Watch it be for like the next 5 years, and I don't remember it at all. Then you see that Lana has her own side plot, a lot of side plots. Lana finds this picture of her mother, and her mother is with this guy, some guy she's never seen before. And they're very close. It looks like they're having a picnic. I'm like, who took these pictures? Because it's not selfies from them. It's like pictures from far. And Lana realizes that these pictures were taken after her parents were married, which we already established in the first season that her parents, I thought, dated in school. So this is obviously a weird situation. She has Lex look into finding out who this guy is for her, because she actually went and asked her Aunt Nell first, which I feel like we haven't seen her aunt in a while. And her aunt was like, yeah, don't worry about it, Lana. Move on. And so she finds out through Lex that apparently her parents had filed for divorce at some point. And they obviously got back together. But there was a year where they weren't together. And I guess that's where the mom was with this other guy. And then Lana puts together the pieces that, oh, I was born in this time period. She goes to Clark's barn at the end of the episode and says, that might be my father. Holy shit. And to be honest, this kind of came out of nowhere. I don't remember this at all. I'm like, wait, Lana's father is this guy? Huh? And it just feels like, and I'm not saying this is going to be terrible, but it feels like the writers are struggling to make Lana interesting, struggling to give Lana something to do. And this is coming from a Lana Lang fan. And am I a Lana Lang fan because I'm attracted to Kristen Cruick? I'm not going to answer that, because the answer is yes. But no, I actually do find Lana more interesting than most people, I think, give her credit for. But this is one of the few times where I will admit that this story, so far, in the opening beginnings of it, I'm not all that interested in. It just seems like it came out of nowhere. But we will see where it goes. Now, back to Chrissy. So, Chrissy, the principal has been on her ass this whole episode, which, granted, I said he was singling out Clark. At least the principal is also going after this Chrissy girl, because he has yet to have met her parents, which, again, has no other principal and no other teacher mentioned this or tried to meet her parents as well. This is the first time this has happened, because she didn't really know how to handle it. She kept giving him the runaround. Oh yeah, you'll meet them, you'll meet them, you'll meet them. She finally says, hey, you'll meet them at this little fucking auditorium get-together. School spirit bullshit. So he goes there, and obviously the parents aren't there. Chrissy's there, and she's like, so you want to know what happened to my parents? They died 100 years ago. And she reveals herself from the darkness, and she has this old woman face. It looks creepy as fuck. And she attacks the principal, knocks him out. She's about to, I guess, suck the life out of him, although he's older, so I don't know how much life she'll get. Maybe about 2 hours. And Clark arrives because now he knows everything about her. He uses X-ray vision, awesome. Sees them behind the curtain. He zooms in to save the principal. Of course, the principal's knocked out, so the principal doesn't see that Clark just saved his life. And so Clark sees her as an old woman. He, knocks her across the room, and she winds up in this area where she sees her reflection, and it's a cool effect of her seeing her own face turn older and older and older as the time is passing. But I didn't really get what was going on. Maybe I spaced out, I'll be honest. Maybe I just missed the explanation of why is she getting older at this particular time? Was she running out of time, and that's why she was acting quick to suck life out of somebody? I don't know, but she just randomly turned into a corpse and turned into a skeleton and died. So this feels like one of the weakest Freak of the Week characters we've ever done. Granted, it's not from the Meteor Rocks. Maybe the vagueness of her powers or who she is a little part of it, but also what she's doing, sucking the life out of people and turning them old or killing them for her to stay young. It's too close and too similar to the Amy Adams episode where she was sucking the fat out of people to stay skinny, or the kid who was stealing the warmth from other people in order to make himself not freeze. Yeah, this is slightly different, but it's still too similar to that to where it didn't feel unique enough. It just felt like, all right, another one of these type of episodes. There's some decent stuff in there, especially with the Clark family dynamic. But other than that, not the greatest episode, not the most happening episode. This might have felt like the most we just got to get through another week episode that I've watched of Smallville so far. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below what did you think of Redux, if you watched it as well. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.